Blood and Black Rum Podcast. I want to play a game. You have been hypercritical of the films that you review. This Halloween, you will be forced to sit through all 7 Saw films. Let's see if you can make it through these new metal-filled films alive.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Blood and Black Rum Podcast. I'm Ryan from themoviesdeadworld.net, and I'm joined by my partner in crime, Martin.
How's it going?
I'm pretty good. How about you?
It'd be better.
You would be better?
Would be better.
Why?
Just experience the movie for the first time.
You're talking about Saw, the original Saw from 2004
Yeah.
that we just watched.
I'm like the only one who probably hasn't seen it.
That's probably true. I mean, I think a lot of people experienced it way back when. Well, maybe not so much the first film, but like the subsequent ones that released during the Halloween season.
Well, wouldn't you want to go back to, if, you know, you're going to see Saw 6, wouldn't you want to know what...
Probably not. Well, I'm gonna assume a lot of people were like, screw those other ones. I'm just going to the movie theater with my friends during Halloween to see this one.
When Jason Takes Manhattan.
Yeah,
I don't need to know about the original.
Yeah, do you think a lot of people, when those came out, they were like, well, here's Friday the 13th, Part 8, but I need to go first before I see this one, I gotta go and see the rest of them.
They should. That's
how you should operate, and that's how I operate, but that's not how everybody operates.
Oh, I know.
So, I think that probably a lot of people, when Saw, I would say like Saw 3 was like the one that was pretty big, where people were like, okay, I gotta see this religiously every Halloween when it comes out now. And I think that probably a lot of people just went to the theater, they heard people talk about it, how gory it is, how much torture porn was in it, when torture porn became a thing. And they were like, oh, okay, yeah, let's go see it.
Yeah, thank you, Hostel.
Yeah. Thank you, Hostel. Eli Roth, James Wan. They're like the Splat Pack for horror movies.
Splat Pack?
The Splat Pack. They did call people that. The Splat Pack.
I don't know.
They joined that prestigious club of the Splat Pack where your movies may not be that great, but at least they got a lot of blood and gore in them. And you got to give it to like James Wan and Eli Roth for actually figuring out a formula that for the most part works, because there was a lot of torture porn, was and still is a lot of torture porn that came out that really did not work, and people were like, yeah, no, that's just a terrible film. And you got to question, like, what about like the Saw films was like, yes, that's, you know, I got to see this one every year.
Well, I don't think,
but films like you know, some of the other films like what was that one? Like, I forget what this one was called, but there was one that came out and it was like it was basically a Saw, but it just was like, you could tell it's just not as good as Saw films or the Hostel films. I forget what it's called now, but I remember, I think it's like Captive or something like that. And you know, it just never captured people's attention like Saw. And you gotta wonder, what about it makes people go nuts for these films? But then again, like when they're presented with other torture porn, they're like, yeah, that's not that great.
Probably because it's one of the first.
Yeah.
And not like the first torture porn film ever, obviously, but like first of like the new generation type thing. When you think about it, coming off the late 90s, the thing was slashers.
Right.
Again, with the Screams. I know you did last summer, Urban Legend.
Yeah, revitalizing those films. Captivity was the film that I was thinking of.
And the only one that's kind of outside of that during that time period, you would say, is like Final Destination.
Which was still, in a way, a slasher.
Yeah, it is.
Just with an inanimate... Like,
death as
a slasher. And, you know, that's not so different from what Friday the 13th became, where a man is pretty much a supernatural, unstoppable being.
Yeah,
I mean,
but...
Jason, for all we know, could be death. Maybe he's just... This is what he does in his spare time while he's not killing other people. for funsies.
Yeah.
He's just like, whatever.
But yeah, so like, yeah, the mid to late 90s is when you got your...
Big slasher boom.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, you have your OOs, which was like a time for some of like the more hyper-violent films that we know of. if you're thinking, and a lot of where we started, like those remakes, those retreads.
Thank you, Rob Zombie.
Yep. Halloween was even later, but you got stuff like
I'm not
House on Haunted Hill.
I was gonna say I'm talking about like his House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects, but yeah, House on Haunted Hill. That was
that's a big one. That's like it's remaking the original, but it's making it hyper violent.
Yeah, that movie actually kind of scared me as a kid because just like the opening with like getting stabbed in the neck with pencil. Like, just being like a kid, like God.
And, they were certainly taking like William Castle's classics and then making him into something scarier and definitely a lot more violent and adding a lot of like nu metal to it. A lot of flashy editing shots, a lot of nu metal,
which, by the way,
grungy decor.
Thinking of House on Haunted Hill, who thought it would be a good idea to cast Chris Kattan in that?
Sorry, just took a drink there, but yeah, you're right. Someone was like, who would be the perfect fit for this part? Chris Kattan. I love him when he's playing that monkey guy in those SNL skits. What was that? What was his name in that?
I don't know.
Mongo or something like that?
I don't really remember.
Mongo? Something like that.
I don't ever remember Chris Kattan being funny.
I don't remember him ever being just funny, but... Yeah, so... Yeah,
but you had The Haunting, too, which is another remake.
Yep, The Haunting, yeah.
Which wasn't nearly as violent.
No.
Compared to, the original, it definitely was. Especially.
Oh, sure, certainly, yeah.
It had its own, nu metal shit in there, thrown in there, too.
I don't think so much nu metal is just, again, those flashy edits, those sort of, you can just sense that this is a new style of horror film and that piece. But even, 13 Ghosts, done by the same company, House on Haunted Hill, you can certainly see that, the same style that they have, and again, the nu metal cut, the kind of the gothic, not talking about original gothic, if we're talking about the original storylines by Shirley Jackson, but those are gothic in the classic sense, or Hammer horror films, but gothic in the sense of Hot Topic gothic. Well, that's what House on Haunted Hill and 13 Ghosts are certainly influenced by gothic wear. The style of the ghosts and stuff were very melded with metal and things like that. That was just kind of what it's like a Marilyn Manson music video put to an hour-and-a-half horror film.
Yeah.
So, and really, we are going somewhere with this. Saw has that same sensibility, and really kind of got that started within the torture porn genre. Saw in 2004, not super well known, not the big hit that it eventually became. More of a sleeper hit. Probably surprised a lot of people that Danny Glover was in it, I would say. Carrie Elwes. Carrie coming off of, not coming off of, but known for roles like Robin Hood Men in Tights. Now in a American horror film where I gotta say he's not at his best. Just not at his best. Would you agree?
Well, as I told you, I said this film stars low-rent Aaron Eckhart and low-rent Paul Rudd meets Edward Norton.
So Aaron Eckhart would be
Carrie
Elwes.
Yeah, because he looks kind of like a fatter Aaron Eckhart.
And Lee Wan-Al would be your Paul Rudd /
Edward
Norton.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Saw was surprising. It surprised a lot of people, not just because of its ultraviolence, where a man cuts off his leg, but also because people were caught up in the fact that it's it's a fun little game that, it involves the viewer in that game as well.
Yeah.
It's a puzzle.
It's a mystery.
Just like Jigsaw.
Ooh.
And, it's easy to see now when you look back at the film, oh, wow, they probably should have they should have made some stylistic changes to how they shot it.
It's dated.
Very dated. But at the same time, you got to think of the time period. You brought up that green hue that the film has. And that is a product of films like The Matrix.
That's what I said. Like it looks like they James Wan was watching The Matrix and he took notes. Like because that's got that
the eerie green glow,
that late '90s. This is the future. This technology. It's like it's electronic. This is what everything's going to look like.
You can kind of see where that's coming from, though, because obviously, like that green glow is to me very much like unpleasant to look at. It's like, wow, this is it's like it presents an ugly atmosphere within the film itself, and that's intentional. I mean that's supposed to be like, oh, look how eerie and weird and gross this facility
but it's not subtle at all. I mean, it's not subtle in it's not subtle in The Matrix either, but like I said, at the same time, you understand what they're going for with it, but at the same time, it's very distracting. Like I said, especially now that it's like a very dated type of thing. Granted, I'm the one that agrees with you. You should judge things on the time period, not, necessarily all the time by today's standards, because you're going to pigeonhole films that, didn't have, maybe certain technologies or ideas around that, it would benefit from in like a modern standpoint. But even still, like that is one thing it is kind of, but that's not even like even more, I think the editing choice is. And we'll talk about that more.
Yeah, we'll talk
and
about
I won't even excuse me. I won't even blame on the time. I know it was the thing at the time, but even still, like, come on.
Yeah,
like
it's tough to look at now. Honestly,
I won't give a pass for being a product of the time, because it's bad at the time and it's still bad now.
Still not getting better.
Yeah.
So, well, let's take a break for a second to discuss our recent liquor and beer acquisitions, and I do want to throw a shout out first before we go into that to kind of like a sister podcast of sorts that I recently found out about today, actually, on Reddit. I was just kind of perusing the podcasting Reddit subreddit that they have, and I found Nightmares on Netflix podcast, which is kind of like us. Instead of two guys, there's two women on there. And they watch movies, especially like horror films and those that may or may not be good on Netflix. So they kind of take risks and they're like, hey, let's check out this film on Netflix and see what's going on with it. So they're kind of like us in the sense that they get together and they discuss a movie every week. And I kind of consider them a sister podcast as far as I've seen. So they've got 3 episodes right now. Hopefully you will check them out. They're on iTunes, on Facebook, and anything else that you can really think of where you would find a podcast. So hopefully you check out Nightmares on Netflix, give them a listen, review them on iTunes, and subscribe to them. And we hope to see more of them.
Yeah. And I would say the greatest nightmare on Netflix is when they pull something that you didn't get a chance to watch.
You had it in your queue or something, and you're like, oh shit, it's gone now. Yeah. You're signed. Yeah, and it always happens too. I'm not like the biggest user of Netflix, but
I don't use my Netflix near as much as I should. But
I would say like they are making money off of me just not using it. Pretty much. That's like how little I use Netflix right now.
Well, it's the same thing for like with that for me and like the WWE network. I literally subscribe to that just to watch when I can NXT and the like pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Just so I don't have to spend $60 on pay-per-view. So it's like other than that, it's like
But
I'm paying for that.
I know. Hopefully that nightmare never happens to Nightmares on Netflix, where they're like they plan on watching a horror movie on Netflix to do for their podcast, and then all of a sudden it's gone.
Well, see, that's another thing. They kind of bury if it's getting pulled.
They don't tell you.
It's kind of buried now, like on the page. Like it used to be like if you went over a title and it's getting pulled soon, it's like this was available.
Hey, watch this now.
Yeah.
Or else you're gonna be shit out of luck in a few days.
Yeah.
But yeah, now they don't really. It's
I'll be mad if they like start just pulling like Star Trek stuff. It's like I haven't gotten to Deep Space Nine yet because there's just too much shit to watch.
Yeah. It's crazy. It'd be fun to do like a joint podcast with them or something.
Yeah, it'd be cool to like
do like a team up, or even we cover the same thing.
Crossover.
Crossover podcast, something like that. So hopefully you hear more from Nightmares on Netflix. Definitely check them out. Now on to our drinking, because we do that every week.
Every day.
I would say it's unhealthy, but who are we kidding? Everybody knows that. My liver can take it.
The liver is evil. It must be punished.
That's right. Today we are drinking a Harpoon beer. Have we had Harpoon on here before?
I think we.
I mean, maybe. I
don't think we've had them on, but we've talked about them.
Camp Wanna Mango. Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We did like the mango IPA. I did get a pack first. So we've had Harpoon on here before, but we have never had this beer on here before.
It's a new one from them.
It's a new one. It's their fall. It's part of their new fall lineup.
Which I haven't seen their variety pack yet, so I don't know.
I feel like... Yeah, I don't know what it is either, honestly. I can't really say. I do know they make an Oktoberfest, so I'm going to guess it has this one. And it has an Oktoberfest. I don't really know what else it has.
Probably their IPA and then something else.
Yeah, something like that. They normally do include their IPA, so I'm assuming it's got that. But we're talking about Flannel Friday from Harpoon, which is a hoppy, and they call it an amber ale. But really, it's very similar to a red ale, like a hoppy red. And I think even like Untappd lists it as a red ale on there.
Yeah, I would say it's like especially more like a red IPA almost.
Yeah, it's very hoppy.
Yeah,
surprisingly hoppy for what they're calling it.
Yeah, I expect it to be. Yeah, I'd expect it to be like a little bit maltier than it is.
Yeah, because they call it hoppy, malty,
crisp.
I wouldn't say that it's particularly malty.
You get like enough of it, like I said, like for it to be like for me to like, I would say like it's a red, like I said, a red IPA because the hops are very prominent and it definitely has like an IPA flavor to it. It's not a bad thing at all. Mm-hmm. I like this a lot actually, which I think it's because it's fall. So I shouldn't be craving IPAs, but I haven't.
Kind of weird.
But I haven't had a lot of IPAs so far this year. I'm kind of like, let's talk. I feel like kind of like maybe getting an IPA now.
Hey, whatever you want. I don't know if I think you're gonna have a hard time finding a lot of IPAs at this time.
No, you won't.
You don't think so?
No.
Well, I mean, the regular IPAs are out probably. Just like, everybody sells an IPA all the time.
Everyone's got an IPA in 12 different rainbow shades.
Indigo IPA.
Well, it'll be the next one for Sam.
That's right. But yeah, this Flannel Friday, one of the reasons that I'm attracted to it is because I like wearing flannel. And I also like the art on it quite a bit.
Yeah.
When I saw Harpoon's, release, it was like a press release that they put out or something. I was very intrigued by it. So I had to get it. Right now, they have it in a 12-pack, which, I mean, I don't know if I would buy a 12-pack of it again. But that's kind of me. Like, I don't like 12 of the same beer often. I like to switch it up. I like to get samplers.
I do if it's like cheap beer.
Well, yeah. If it's cheap beer, that's a little bit different. Then you can just pound them and not feel bad about it.
But, yeah, I agree. Like, if I get a Sam's or Saranac, I prefer to get like a variety pack. So you get just so you can you
switch it up a little bit. Because not every night I'm feeling like a hoppy ale.
Might want a maple bock the next night.
Might want an Oktoberfest, and I generally do throughout the fall season. So I mean, I like it for what it is, and I think that Harpoon did a good job with it. But like I said, I don't know if I would buy a 12-pack of it again. So,
and again, that's just because you don't.
Yeah, that's me.
Like to be fair, like the only like seasonal thing for me that I would like that I actually like to kind of get in bulk like that's like an Oktoberfest.
I would agree. Yeah, me too.
That's about it.
That and like if I'm in the summertime, I did get that 15-pack of Founders IPA, which I did like quite a bit because that goes down easy.
Yeah,
and multiples.
That's different. That's not really a seasonal.
No, that's not. But
But yeah, no, because even a summer ale, I never get like it's a 12-pack just because.
Yeah. It's too much.
I like the variety.
Yeah.
If I wanted like 12 summer ales, I probably want 12 cheap beers too. I can just go with like Jenny Cream Ale and be just as satisfied. So.
And I'll tell you that you'll never find me buying a 12-pack of a pumpkin ale. Never in my life will I do that. Just because
I gotta get me a Saranac Growler of their pumpkin.
Yeah, I do love the growler look on that.
The new one this year looks great. It actually looks they got a scary pumpkin on it this year.
Yeah, so. I love the scary pumpkin.
Yeah.
And I will say that I do want to try that Rosemary's Baby. Because I love the packaging and the name of it.
Oh, you did see it?
Yeah, I saw it at TJ's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's 2 roads, right?
Yeah.
Rosemary's Baby. I do love the picture on it. I love that. I love the name. I love the reference.
Yeah.
Makes sense for the Halloween season. Not that they're always referencing horror movies, but for their pumpkin ale, they do. So, I do want to try that, just to try it. I'm not a pumpkin ale fan, but I will try it, just to give it a go. But, if you had anything else this week?
No.
Nothing at all?
No.
And I haven't really either, because I wasn't home, and I did go to a Jack and Jill. I had a Sam Adams Boston Lager, because that's all they had. And I did have a Pabst, actually, in a bottle.
Did you feel fancy?
It has a cool label on it, I will give it that. It's got like a classic label on it.
Yeah, I told you about that.
Yeah,
I said, I was thinking about getting a 12-pack of Pabst in bottles, because they had like the 50s like logo on it.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, you're going to regret that. I'm like, yeah, I know, that's why I didn't get it.
And I will say that the Jack and Jill was at an American Legion, so they only had bottles, and their bottles were very, very close, but not expired. Their expiration date was marked October. Every single one of them.
On Boston or?
On Boston.
On the Pabst?
On the Pabst.
Oh.
Everything was October.
They don't drink that. They're teetotalers.
Real close, but not expired. So not like at the bowling alley where you had expired Sam Adams.
Yeah, but you get that, like, it's super discounted, so.
That's true, too. I would take an expired Sam's for, like, $1.50.
Yeah, yes, please.
Yes, so. All right.
Trade that skunk for discount. Absolutely.
That's right. We're being kind of lame in the past 2 weeks on the podcast, we haven't really... Well, we did have something new this time, but the last time we didn't, and we don't really have much... I guess we haven't been drinking very much.
Yeah, it's more I haven't had time when I'm at the store to kind of peruse around. Especially of late, I've been busy, like when I go to Walmart, I've been busy just trying to get the fuck in and get the hell on out.
I don't give Walmart my beer business anyway.
Well, I mean,
they
not
charge
for
full price for like everything.
Not for beer. I mean, I go there for like other things. So, and usually that's I
know. I got to get back to
granted. Granted, when they had Jetty Bach in 12 packs like 2 years ago, they were selling it for $5.50.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, that's where I got it.
Probably you're trying to get rid of it.
No, it was like right when it first came out. I stocked up there. I wanted to go in the back and like, you loaded your pallet up. We're gonna find a flatbed truck and we're gonna bring her on down because that's a great deal.
That is a good deal. That is.
It's a steal.
Got to find the Oktoberfest for that price.
You know, I haven't had the Jenny Oktoberfest either since that 112 pack.
I haven't seen it.
I've always seen it at Napes at one time, but I haven't been there since.
They got any more.
And I haven't.
Probably all gone. That was probably it. They got two.
If that's the case, that's really sad, because that was really good.
I know, it is really good, but that's probably the reality, because how many people are going to go out and be like, oh, I will take that Jenny Oktoberfest. Those guys were probably ecstatic to get rid of that, because they didn't even know they had it.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't, because like when I said, when I looked around for like 10 minutes, I couldn't find it. I actually asked the guy. I usually don't, because I don't want to be a pain in the ass, but I asked him, and he was like, oh, I got a Jenny back there that I didn't recognize.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, it's warm. Is that okay? I'm like, yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, I'll take it.
I want it.
All right. Let's get into the meat of Saw. Ha. That was a little joke. There's a lot of meat in this film.
And potatoes. And Danny Glover.
And a lot of Danny Glover.
Not really a lot of Danny Glover, but...
Where should we start?
Well,
first off, let's start with you've never seen Saw.
Yeah, You've
never seen any of the Saws.
Never.
that's kind of surprising considering how big they were when we were like in school. Like this was one of those films like when we were in high school, everybody not maybe the first Saw, but the subsequent Saws when they were playing every Halloween because it became a thing. It was like you can't have Halloween without Saw. It became a big thing. It was like everybody's like, "Are you going to the new Saw this weekend?"
Oh, nobody ever asked me.
Well, I don't know.
I guess
You weren't that cool.
I sucked in high school.
I remember going to Saw 3 at theaters at like 9 o'clock with a bunch of friends.
All I remember
Mike
about
Messick and
like the Saw film, and it's like I said, Saw 3. I remember somebody went and threw up from watching it in like the first 15 minutes because of that first trap, and I was like, "Yep, no, thank you."
Not for me.
I was just like, "No thanks. I'm busy watching Land of the Dead and kind of cringing at Dennis Hopper and."
Yeah, you'd rather watch that.
What happened to George Romero? Like, George, what are you doing?
Yeah.
If only I knew the things that would to come after that.
I know.
But
yeah, so you didn't really ever check out Saw. And I'll be honest, like I didn't see the first Saw in theaters because that was like, it wasn't big at that time. It became big. It became something that all the magazines were talking about.
I don't even remember
something
like
that you gotta see.
I don't even remember like any adverts for it until like Saw 3 or Saw 4.
I don't remember
like on TV. Like
yeah,
so.
I don't really remember the first Saw ever getting very big publicity for it. Like when it came out, I remember hearing about it after. It was like when it was coming out on video. It was like, oh yeah, you should really see this. It's a twisty thriller. I remember at the time in 2004, I was 14 years old. I remember seeing it, and thinking like, wow, that was a mind fuck. That was crazy. Can't believe what happened in that. And, that was,
and then, how do you sum it up now? What did Sarah say? What happened? This used to be good.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say that because I do still like Saw in many ways, and I still treasure those memories of seeing all the Saw films at Halloween because it was a fun thing. It was like a exciting thing. It was like, oh, Halloween's rolling around. We're gonna get a new Saw film. We're gonna see Chester Bennington from Linkin Park get killed in a horrifying way. At the same time, I mean, I don't necessarily think that Saw is good or it's my favorite series or anything like that anymore. I definitely can see some of the horrible stuff that goes on in the film that really is, it's hard to get over. It's hard to get over, like, some of those mistakes and stylistic choices that you see now and you're like, wow, ugh, what were they thinking? But it's kind of the same way as, like, when you look at a picture in the 90s or something like that of your family or your house and you're like, why did we have that wallpaper? Like, well, at the time we thought it was pretty cool. Like, well, not anymore. I wouldn't even, put that on somebody's coffin. Bury it in the ground.
Oh, God, yeah.
But, that's the thing that happens with these films, with some of these films. They take stylistic risks. I would say that Saw's style is risky. Not everybody's going to respond to that editing, even in 2004. I
think more people though then would look at it and be like, oh, this is cool, this is new, this is,
But I think again though,
it's like music video editing.
Well, yeah, James Wan certainly, you can tell, is taking some cues from music video editing, like all of those crazy like speed up, slow down, just edits, quick cuts of like or
it's like you're watching a 9 Inch Nails video.
Yeah, pretty much, and having the camera circle around and around and around and just quickly speeding through that. Those are all stylistic risks, I would say. You're going to alienate some of your fans, or your viewers, I should say. Not fans, but viewers.
I know, but that doesn't, like, even back then, I agree. I understand what you're saying, how it's, how that's, it is a stylistic risk, but at the same time, just thinking about it in, like, a common sense type of manner. That whole, especially because the main scene where like that kind of editing goes on is when we meet Amanda shortly in this film.
Yeah, Played by Sean E. Smith, who probably most notable for many of you for playing in the TV show Becker with Ted Danson. Maybe I shouldn't say notable. Maybe I should say people will know her from that. Being like the kind of slutty, like, secretary or whatever she was in that show.
Is that what she was?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. He was like, what, a doctor?
I don't remember.
I think he was a doctor, so he's like Dr. Becker. She was like his receptionist. I just remember one episode where she came in with a thong or something, and it was like a big thing. It was like, oh my god, you can't wear that in our office.
Well, it was probably right after the thong song. And
yeah,
like,
it was something like that. I just remember it. I didn't watch Becker religiously or anything like that. But
they have a porn spoof called Dr. Pecker.
Dr. Pecker. Yeah, I'm sure.
But no, like, so like that scene when you see her with the now famous reverse bear trap on her face, that's when you get like the quick, fast speed up and green light everywhere, spinning camera. That's supposed to build tension.
Yeah.
More practical, effective, and tried and true classic way to build tension through cinematography would just be like a slow paced like camera, just like
hearing the ticking of the clock,
and like she's acting frantically, but the camera's not, like, to have that contrast.
Yeah.
That would be a lot more effective in building tension than what that scene ends up doing by its editing and cinematography choice. Now it's, even then, like I would say, it's campy and corny. It's like...
You mean the guitar sweeps are not getting you in the mood for, like, oh no, this is intense, this is scary. That doesn't do it for you? The...
No, that sounds like a bad wrestling theme.
It sounds like the guy from Mad Max Fury Road on the truck was like, oh, what would give this some good tension?
No, that Mad Max is much better.
Well, that's
a billion times
actually supposed to be kind of like, cheesy like that. This is not. This is done because that was the way they were doing it. It's like this one out of all of them is going to be the one most taken seriously, right? And
it's not like it's done like kind of like tongue in cheek, like
no, it's not really. It's not.
It's done to try to build suspense, and like, it doesn't do it because again, it's campy, it's corny, and it looks awful. It's terrible. Yeah. And like I said, like if you just like, you don't have to be like have gone to a fucking film school to know like how to build like suspense in this. Would be like just. She's up against the clock and have her, like, the franticness of her portray that, and you don't need the camera to try to portray that franticness with it.
Yeah, I agree. Those are stylistic choices that really they don't go very well now. They don't go over well. And it's gonna continue throughout the Saw series, so you better get used to it.
Well, I was gonna say, you better get used to it. Well, I was gonna say, because again, this film's has a lot of flashbacks in it too, and every time there's like a flashback, it's like that. Quick jump cuts, like a stuttering camera, fucking new metal music playing, and it's just like,
Well, that's the thing too. You talked about the that it's not tongue in cheek, and this film is never tongue in cheek. Really, this film has very little humor in it at all. It's not. Even when is humorous.
Not even like any like dark humor. Like
not really.
Like
maybe very very little. The one time the only time I could think is like Lee Wanell's character Adam infuses a little bit of that dark humor in it, where he's able to kind of make jokes.
But it's not like
his situation.
But it's not. See, but when he does make those jokes, it's not like. It's supposed to be levity for the audience.
No,
it's just
really
him.
Not.
It's just him playing a smartass who's being a sarcastic asshole.
Yeah,
it's not like we're supposed to he said when low rent Aaron Eckhart's asking who are you, what happened, and he says something. He's like, no, tell me the truth. And then he's like, oh fine, you want to know the truth? Yeah, my 6th birthday party. It's not like it's funny. It's like no, he's just being an asshole.
Yeah. I will say that Steven Singh, that detective that works with Danny Glover's character, Tap, played by Ken Leung, he does add a little bit of humor to it too. Unfortunately, he dies real quick.
And he gets no.
But I do love
no screen time.
I do love Ken Leung because he's in this film. He's also in Lost, the TV show Lost, and so is Michael Emerson, who plays one of the people playing Jigsaw's game. He looks like he's his assistant Zepp, but he's really actually playing the game as well. They're both in Lost, so there's some casting choices here that are like, they're carried over from that show. But in Lost, Ken Leung's really funny too, like wryly funny. He gets a lot more screen time in that show. So I think that there's like, I wish that we had seen more of him because he probably could have added some levity to this film. And this is a film, I don't always think that films need to have levity for the sake of it for their audience. Like, I think that if a film is going to be dark and just overall dreary, then go for it. You don't need to think of the audience. Like, I know I took creative writing courses, and there were a lot of times where I, in particular, write dark stories, and I'm very interested in darkness and not really giving the audience much light in it at all. A lot of my stories end with horrible endings. It's not like they're happy endings at the end. There's pretty horrible endings. And I'm not of the camp that you need to give the reader or the audience anything that's lighter than that. If that's your stylistic choice to go completely dark, then so be it. And you don't owe the audience anything. So I am fine with Saw, just being completely dark and dreary all the time, but at the same time, it's overwrought. There's a lot of scenes where it's just like so overwrought and just too self-serious.
Well, I was going to say, I agree with that sentiment where you don't have to. I don't think something should have humor in it for the sake of, humor or.
You don't need to save the audience from something.
It's what you're trying to get across. If you don't like that, then that's fine. That's about preferential taste. And I agree. This, I don't think adding humor in this film for the sake of humor would have made it better. I do think, though, if you are going like a darker, more serious route, like this film, you better. The thing is, if you're not adding like kind of humorous moments, you have to be perfect. You have to be damn near perfect in your pacing, your plotting, your storytelling to keep the audience interested. Because if it's not, like, and this film does fall in points, then it's going to fail. And it's going to be even more noticeable because there's not things to kind of break it up. Because this film is very serious to the point where it's, if you look at it now, it's almost comedic how like serious this film takes itself. And
it is. It has a lot of those moments where you have a hard time taking it seriously because it's taking itself so seriously to the point where it's relying on two actors and characters. It's relying on Lee Wan-el, who isn't really an actor at this point. He's more of a writer. I mean, he writes the film's screenplay and came up with the story along with James Wan, who directed it. And then you've also got Cary Elwes, who's really not that great in this film, and I don't know if it's the directing or if it's just the script or whatever it is, but his acting is very wooden. Yeah, even his wife in the film,
terribly wooden.
Yeah, I mean, but she talks about how, like, at least he could portray some emotion as her husband, and really, that's his character through and through. I mean, he really doesn't have a very wide range of emotion here
until the very end.
Well, even the very end, it's kind of hard to take him seriously because we've crossed the border between like you have no emotion and you're like ridiculously over the top, crying and carrying on. I can't take him seriously with the caked on powder on his face that makes him like so white when he literally just cut off his leg. I mean, he just cut it off. He's not going to be losing that much blood immediately to make him pale as a fucking zombie.
I will give him credit. I mean, I agree that is true, but I will give him credit for that because that is kind of like a nice little touch that they added to to that effect, at least.
Yeah.
To, like, you know, portray, like, he just chopped his goddamn foot off, and now, you know, he does look like he just came off the set of the remake of, you know, Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead.
He does, yeah. He looks like... The other thing, too, with Cary Elwes is that he is British. And his accent slips in and out all the time. And that's more of an error with the casting, though. I mean, in the script, like, what's to stop the Doctor in this film from being British?
Yeah,
what does it matter?
Yeah, no, he should have
Cary Elwes is British, so he might as well have been British.
Yeah,
it doesn't. And I say British, but I don't really know if that's true. I mean, he's
from London.
Yeah, so, but there's nothing to stop him from having that accent. It's just that they didn't want him to, for whatever reason. But they should have just gone with it, because he doesn't have a strong enough American accent to really sell it. Because if he gets angry, he slips into it.
If he shows emotion,
any emotion, it's coming out, and that's a big problem, because it's going to take you out of the movie. You know, you have a hard time taking him seriously when he goes from American accent to all of a sudden, you know, clearly British. I always had a hard time with that. Even when I was 14, I was like, this does not, you know, he doesn't sound the same all the time. So, I mean, that's one of the big things that I have a problem with, especially at the end, because he's yelling so much. It's pretty much all in British. When he says, like, I've got to go get help. It's like in British. It's not even, you're not even speaking American anymore. You cut your leg off and you become British. I don't know. I've always had that problem with this film, and it doesn't get better with age. I definitely notice it even more now that I've seen it a few times. That it's like, wow, you know, that's certainly a British accent there. I don't know. Yeah. So, I mean, I have a lot of problems with Saw now watching it, and I can't say that I think it's the best film that I've ever seen anymore. But I do think it has some good twists to it. You got to think of, like, you coming into this film, even though you haven't seen it, you knew the twist. You knew the end twist.
Yeah.
Do you think that...
I mean, yeah, because I watched, like, reviews of, like, the Saw...
You've
like,
seen...
like, for most of, like, the series of, like, you know... I watched, like, a reviewer, like, do in-depth breakdowns of, like 45-minute reviews of each Saw film of, like... Because he likes them, and, like, how the series just gets kind of progressively worse. And so, yeah, I watched... So I knew the twist, but at the same time, it is... Not to be like when, like I was saying, Tenebrae, how it's kind of, it's a, you can see it coming twist. It is you can see it coming twist, because when you think about it, one of the things that, I mean, I know it would have been hard the way they were chained. They're purposely chained so they can't really reach the body in the middle of the room. Mm-hmm. That would be one of the things I would be also checking. Like, why is that guy dead? He looks like it's so. Jigsaw is the body in the room. Spoiler. If you don't know, 12 years now. Spoiler. It's Jigsaw who's in the middle of that room. And he's got, you know, when he's lying there, blood coming out of his head, you know, gun next to his hand. So it looks like he committed suicide. If I was in that dank, dusty room and trying to find ways to get out, I would, like I said, the chains are purposely set so they can't really reach him. I would be trying to find a way, like he might have something on him. Especially seeing as the whole point is for Cary Elwes to win.
Yeah.
Or at least, you know, in the one of the more drastic ways for him to win, because there's multiple ways he could win.
Yeah.
One of the ways is for him to kill Adam, and which he has a bullet for a gun that Jigsaw has. He has to somehow get the gun from Jigsaw. So at the same time, I'd be like trying to check also, if you can like somehow get to that gun, try to also maybe see what else is on him. Mm-hmm. You know. So I mean,
but we were talking about the twist. You saw it coming. Well, I mean, you would be able to see it coming if you didn't know the ending.
Yeah, because I mean, when you watch this film, do you think that somehow at the end of this film, just the way it takes the way the film is, do you think this film's somehow going to have a happy ending with both them getting out? And
no, I don't think I would have a happy ending. But when I watched it, I didn't think anything of that man being dead in the room, because I just thought, if it didn't happen, they were stuck in the room for one thing. They just leave him there to die, and then they would murder his family. So I didn't really think anything of like Jigsaw being in the room, because at that time we didn't even know that
his MO.
Yeah, there was no one really.
But it's hinted at, because again, his whole and they show it throughout the film. He's going after people who don't appreciate life.
Yeah,
because he's dying. He's got terminal cancer, so he's dying, and he sees ungrateful assholes not appreciating life. Which is an extreme, because when I was at lunch today with our friend's girlfriend said like how it's a blessing how like she doesn't have to feed her boyfriend because how she worked at like nursing homes and stuff, and I'm like, well, if that's the case, then just being able to breathe is a blessing. Is it really a blessing, or is it just?
Yeah,
I wouldn't call that being a blessing. So I think. In this case, like he's like, I'm dying and I'm pissed off, and like this guy's living in the shadows taking pictures, I'm gonna fuck him over, and this guy's emotionless, I'm gonna fuck him over too.
That's a thing that does come up in the sequels, is he really doing a service to these people, or is he really just kidnapping to make them play terrible games? And it does come up a little bit where he has to question like what he's doing. And I think
would you say, from what we know of the two main characters, that they did anything that would say they're not appreciating life?
It doesn't necessarily always mean for him to take these people that they're not appreciating life. It's that they have morally outraged him in some way.
I know that. But at the same time, they haven't. If you think about it, one's basically a private investigator.
Yeah.
He's not really a dick, but he's a dick.
But at the same time he's doing it illegally.
But
it's basically like voyeurism. You can't really go to somebody's house and start taking pictures of them.
No, I know that, but like at the same time, like what he's doing isn't. There's a lot more morally outrageous things going on.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Like if you find somebody doing something like that, you break their camera and kick their ass or something. Yeah. You don't. That's how you don't fucking take pictures of me.
You'd rather have him like pick up that guy that Danny Glover was talking about that was the dentist that was molesting children.
Yeah.
You'd rather see him like pick someone up like that.
So, well, I mean, I'm not saying his form of justice is right.
Yeah, but you're saying like that would be more believable than the two that we get for Saw.
Yeah, and the other one is a guy who's just emotionless, dedicated to his work, and he might have had an affair.
Yeah.
Which we don't know.
Yeah, and in that case, why didn't Jigsaw pick up the woman who was also having the affair, because she's basically fucking to the top? Yeah. Because she's one of his students.
Yeah. She's just as guilty in that.
Yeah.
I mean, so like I said, like in this, and I know like Amanda would be more of an appropriate because she's a drug addict.
Yeah.
You're throwing your life away on drugs. That's like more of you want to scare somebody into getting straight. Drug addicts, one of them. Like, oh, you like heroin a lot. I don't know if she does heroin. I'm just taking a guess. She does look like a junkie, not a fucking pothead.
Yeah.
That would be a way to scare them off the smack, is put a bear trap on their head.
That's true.
Yeah,
I mean, there are definitely some issues with the thematic ideas that are at play with Jigsaw's.
Hell, you could take Danny Glover.
Games. Yeah, an obsessive he's cop who's really not actually a cop anymore because he's been discharged from the service. But, yeah. But I mean, at the same time, yeah, not really. He doesn't really actually play a game. The game is, he's put into it. I mean, he puts himself into the game, really. Yeah. So, yeah, that is always an issue, and I would say that it becomes more of an issue within the Saw films moving forward, because at that point you have to question all of the people, because they get more convoluted, obviously. More people within, many more games. You have to question, like, is he really doing these games to teach people a lesson, or is it now just become a thing for him? So, yeah, I get what you're saying about Saw. I think that is an issue, and probably just, a problem with Lee Whannell's script. That they didn't really come up with a specific idea that makes Jigsaw, someone that the viewer can actually somewhat relate to. I mean, at the same time, though, if they had given the characters something a lot worse as their backstory, then you risk the viewer saying, "Oh, yeah, well, Jigsaw's kind of right,"
Yeah, but that's what the films become. I haven't seen them, but I know
they will become.
I haven't seen them, but I know as the films go on, it's not about punishing them through these elaborate puzzles. It's about just the game itself, and then the hideous way they're going to fail.
Well, yeah, that's true though. But you have to take Saw as a standalone right now, because those other films didn't come out.
Well, no,
Saw 2 was not even really an inkling at the time when Saw 1 was created, because they didn't know that it was going to do so well. So really, the idea was, hey, this Jigsaw guy's killing people because they did stuff that he doesn't agree with.
No, I know that, but I'm saying, like, it's you just tell by, like, the idea of it, though. Like,
it's problematic.
As the films, if you do more sequels, it's easily going to stray away from that, because again, it's like the Friday the 13th film, the Halloween films, the Nightmare films. It's not about the story and the intrigue of, like, those first few, those first films and those series sets up. It's about, how can Michael Myers, become more and more brutal to these people? How can Freddy, get more and more convoluted in his dreams? And it's the same thing with this. You can tell, like, I mean, I wouldn't call the Room scenario in this technically a trap. It's not really a trap, because they were kidnapped and put into it, so it is a puzzle.
Yeah.
But I can tell, just as, because Amanda's put in a trap, that people probably saw that as, like, one of the more iconic things in this, and then they kind of probably, in Saw 2, took that a little bit further.
Yeah.
And then, like, in some of the ones in this one, too, there's traps in this film, too, like the razor wire fence, and the candle, and the safe, and so people were probably like, "Oh, that's really cool." And then as the films just went on, that's because you could tell that's how it's going to progress. They're not going to, again, as I said, horror films never trend upward.
Yeah. They
just don't. It starts, always, if it's a series that does really well, usually the first one is your peak. It's all downhill from there.
Yeah.
You don't ever come close to that peak again. And I think in this, like, you can kind of tell, like, as the films go on, they're not going to get smarter with their puzzles. And,
Well, I will disagree, actually. The puzzles do get smart, like, more intricate, but the method of getting them there, of including the characters, probably it gets dumbed down.
Well, I mean, maybe the traps get more.
Yeah,
I mean,
intricate.
But that's not what the whole thing that Saw's supposed to be about. Is there's a puzzle. The answer is an easy answer, but because of hysteria, anxiety, fear, and prejudice, you're blinded by, like, the easy answer, and you choose the hard answer.
Yeah.
Much more convoluted. That is an interesting idea. Like, within this film is a very interesting idea and concept.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, like I said, I already know, because, like, I've seen, like, I haven't experienced the films, but I know as the films go on, the traps get more elaborate and whatnot, but at the end, they kind of become moot because of what happens in those films.
Yeah.
Which I don't want to talk about right now. I want to talk about when we get, like, down into those films, but...
Yeah.
So, but like I said, just think like Halloween. First one's the best one. It's downhill from there. Even though like I love Halloween too, and I like Halloween
2 is great,
and I love Halloween too. I think it's a very underrated film. But like I said, and I like Halloween 3 too. But then like after that, it's just downhill.
Yeah,
you know, and nothing comes close. Same thing with the Friday the 13th. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say the first Friday the 13th is the best one, but it like hits its peak by like the third or fourth one, and then sent back right down the shit.
Yeah.
Same thing with Nightmare.
I do think that Saw 1 is probably the best. And I think that, I mean, Saw 2 has its moments as well, just because it's trying something different. It's trying something new. That's kind of like where Saw 2 is kind of having to start over from Saw 1, because you can't do the same thing that Saw 1 did. It's just like put two people in a room and have it progress from there. Because even Saw 1 has difficulties with its plot set entirely in this one room. Really.
It has no sense of time.
Yeah, it has a poor sense of time, and really the pacing it can become a problem.
Because as I told you, when you see, after you find out when they get the cell phone and they find out when he receives calls and they get a call, and it's Carrie L's wife saying, "Don't trust Adam, he's a liar." And then he questions him about it. You see, it's 4:00 when he got that call. And by the time Adam's done explaining his story and what happened, it's 6:00. It took him 2 hours to... That's just ridiculous.
It's, yeah. I mean...
I think this film would have benefited from a lot of trimming. I think this is a film that easily should have been...
It's like an hour and 45 minutes that should have been an hour and a half.
An hour 20, I would say.
Yeah.
You probably could cut that, you don't need...
Part of the problem is that James Wan or I don't know where this came from, but Lee Wanell's script, they don't really have faith in the viewer that they can put 2 and 2 together. So there's a lot of backtracking and flashbacks with our characters to show how they got to this point. But then they those flashbacks, they often intersect. And we see the same events happening like multiple times. Because they feel the need to explain it as explicitly as possible. Like, okay, this is what happened, and here's where those two stories intersect, and now you get it. But with what they give us, we don't really need those flashbacks where they intersect. We don't need to see the same things happening 3 times. We can put it together without that stuff. So that's where a lot of our time goes. That and probably Danny Glover's entire plot really doesn't need to be there.
It's totally pointless.
It doesn't do much at all. He dies, has really no bearing on
gets like
the
top
end of the
billing
game.
and he did nothing. Just except phoning it in and play another just fucking
older cop
I'm
guy.
too old for this shit.
Yeah. Yeah, they go pretty much as far as just not saying that line. But other than that, he's basically just a disgruntled cop guy.
Yeah.
And he's not the greatest in this role.
I don't think any of the acting in this film is good, except Tobin Bell.
Yeah.
And he's not even...
And he's really not that...
He's given nothing to do.
No, he doesn't really get much to do at all. He's got to lay in the middle of the floor and then get up and say some things.
Well, other than that, they're all very stilted and wooden. Just wooden all around.
Yeah.
Especially, the thing of it, too, Lee Wandell, when, the whole end, when you have Carrie L is starting to break down and, decide he's going to cut his ankle off, because that's the conclusion he comes to, to win, I gotta to get to the gun, to kill you, so I can, survive, have my family be free. I'm going to cut it, through my foot. And Adam's just sitting like, what are you doing? Stop it. You're being crazy. No. It's just all it's missing is like, oh my god.
Little Troll 2
but yeah, like I said, the acting, like for everybody in this film is bad. It's just totally wooden across. There's nobody in this film is like a delightful, over the top actor or actress. They're all just very, it's like for this film, they were all method acting, and they went and spent like 25 days in a fucking broken down warehouse, and like, now I know.
You could be pretty down, I guess, if you were in a place like that.
Yeah,
Makes me grossed out.
Yeah, you would be.
Yeah.
But they're all just like soulless.
Makes me like want to wash my hands. They did do a good job with the set design.
Yeah, I thought the room looked great.
Yeah. It's pretty gross.
Especially seeing as they didn't have
They probably filmed it in some like boys' locker room that in a school that's been condemned.
Abandoned.
Yeah. That's what I would do.
It's great.
Huh?
No, I like
somebody actually shit in the toilet.
Not only that room didn't have really much green lighting either, so that was...
Yeah, no, it's nice and bright fluorescent colors or lighting, so yeah, no green there.
Now, I will say, I know Jigsaw's MO too is also, like I said, he puts people in these traps and puzzles where usually there's an easy answer, but the victims never really find that easy answer because, the anxiety, fear, and whatnot. And they always kind of do the stupid thing to try to solve it.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So, my question is, with this trap is, how is Adam supposed to know from the get-go that to win this game, the fucking original key was in the bathtub that he woke up with his, face in, and
it got sucked down the drain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not really, because again, like I said, from what I understand of the other films, is usually the answer is right there. It's literally there. He doesn't hide it from you or try to trick you. It's there, but you're not probably going to see that answer because...
Yeah, you're too
blind,
obsessed with something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so in this case, it's not really the case. You kind of,
Well, the only thing that you can... Well, yeah, I mean, it's really not fair. And it's really... I mean, perhaps he didn't think that it would get sucked down a drain. Maybe that was just like a unfortunate...
all the keys he leaves them are like the tiniest little fucking keys in the world.
Well, the tiny key makes sense because it was to a tiny lock on a tiny box.
I know, but but they're like all like every key that you see in the film is like a tiny little,
Yeah, I mean, maybe that could have been an accident. Whoops! It got sucked down a drain, and
then he should off himself. Then I broke my rule.
That's true. That's true. Yeah,
but.
That sucks.
But yeah, that kind that's
it does.
That bothers me.
Yeah,
just because
it's an unfair part of that game.
Because again, like I said, like from what I know,
he couldn't get out. He couldn't make it. There's nothing he could do.
Because at that point, Adam's going to be the one that's going to be screwed. Because even still, at the end of the day, the main option that he kind of blatantly says to Carrie L's character is that you have to kill Adam to be free, but at the same time, how is he going to get free from that?
He has to trust in the fact that if he kills him, then
once he does it, that
comes to get him
and lets him out.
Yeah, I guess that's it.
Like that's like a lot
because they got a video camera, so
but they don't.
Somebody's watching.
Yeah, but they don't know that until halfway through the film.
Yeah,
that they're being watched.
Yeah. Well, they were,
and they don't say, because Zepp's also being played with the game too, like for him to not die, which they don't even say why. Like they don't even say why Zepp's part of the game, what he's doing.
Because he's a weirdo. That's why.
No, they don't even say why. Like it kind of would make sense if you think about it, again, to kind of hint off of what I know from like what happens later on in the films, that he might be like Jigsaw's assistant, because when you see Zepp, when we, in the hospital,
Right, yeah.
you have the doctor, Carriel's, like, oh, he's got inoperable brain cancer, like, he's talking to his students, kind of not really having a nice bedside manner about,
Yeah.
Jigsaw lying there, and Zapp's like, oh, his name's John, and, and he kind of blows him off. He's like, yeah, the orderlies get attached to them, so he's, like, being, like, condescending.
Yeah.
So you would think maybe, he could possibly, like assistant to Jigsaw, because it's like, maybe he might have had a bond, and, like, but no, he's doing what he's doing because he's been put in the game to, because he's weird.
Yeah. That's what I got from it. That he's weird. And that's why he's playing the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some problems, definitely. Definitely some problems with the script. What would you give Saw out of 10 hacksaws? What would you give it?
Probably a 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10?
Maybe, yeah.
I'd probably give it a 7. 7 out of 10 hacksaws.
Yeah, I'd give it a 6. I mean, like I said, I think the idea of the film was great.
Yeah.
I think it's a very interesting concept. I think it's just poorly executed. I think, for the most part, they could have just done, like I said, a shorter film, kept most of it just within that room, and playing the game and seeing how that pans out. Like, you didn't have to dive that much into the backstories of the character, why they're there and whatnot.
Yeah, because it didn't really matter.
I mean, you can, but it doesn't have to be anything, all these great flashbacks and whatnot. The game itself can take precedence.
Yeah.
And then, like, the interaction, and then that's, because at the end of the day, it's not what they did in their past that matters. It's what's going on in that room right then,
That's true.
Right then and there. That's going to be the deciding factor on how you feel about those characters. So, but like I said, I think it's an interesting idea. I think they, like I said, could have done better with it. I think overall the acting in this film is god awful. I just wish, like, they probably either got better direction or better actors and actresses in this. Which is a shame, because Danny Glover just, like I said, he's just total shit in this.
Yeah.
I think
it only gets worse from here too, as he picks up more small-time indie roles. He's kind of like Eric Roberts now, something like that, where he's just like, someone calls him up, is like, "Do you want like $1,000 to be in this really low budget horror movie?" He's like, "Sure, I'll do whatever you want me to do." $1,000.
And like I said, I think some of the editing choices and cinematography is bad, but it's product of the time. But like I said, I think some of it's kind of inexcusable.
Well, it's a good thing that James Wan got better. Did The Conjuring 2.
Yeah, I haven't seen the original Conjuring, but I loved when I saw The Conjuring 2. I thought that was actually really good. It's one of the best horror films I've seen in theaters in a long time.
I mean, he definitely learned from his early years making films like Saw, like Dead Silence starring Donnie Wahlberg.
Which we're going to see soon.
We're going to see him soon. We will see him soon. He is in Saw 2. So.
While they're at it, why don't you throw like a slow run Baldwin in there, like Steven, and...
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Baldwin shows up ever.
No, they're not. But I'm just saying, like, you got low rent Wahlberg, why don't you throw in, like, throw in Stephen Baldwin, too, and...
Yeah, definitely.
Make it a buddy cop film. But yeah,
it was okay.
I wouldn't...
Are you looking forward to the next sequels?
No.
No, not at all.
No,
it's going to get tougher and tougher.
I can already tell it's going to be.
It's going to get more violent.
I just know the good thing's going to be, like, there's going to be more Tobin Bell, and I know he's solid in the role.
Tobin Bell, yeah.
Like I said, he outside, he's the only...
For a while, you get to see Donnie Wahlberg, so that'll be fun.
Yeah.
It's going to get more violent. More broken bones.
More green.
More, yeah.
Well,
more green.
That's another
more fog.
thing. That's another thing too. This film isn't even gory.
No, it's not.
It's not.
Not really.
No, it's not gory at all.
I mean, a little bit.
You don't see
A little bit of the foot cutting, but
you don't see that. You see him like you see the first incision and some blood. That's it. The rest of the way he's cutting, they just pan to Adam's reaction and then his face while he's biting into his shirt while he's cutting. They don't really show, so you don't see like the whole him like because if it was like later in the film, they'd show like the whole like him hacking through his.
True.
They don't
and then, like breaking the foot off.
Yeah.
You know.
They don't. So this film is very tame.
Yeah. It is. Yeah, it is, and that's they build on it from there.
But I'm not saying it's bad either. Like I said, I think
I mean at least it leaves a visceral reaction from the viewer. It's like, oh, you don't really see what's happening, but you can imagine it.
Like with the one trap with the guy that's in the barbed wire, the razor fence.
You can imagine how
you don't have to watch him crawling through that and because
I mean it shows you a little bit, but not
just him acting frantically. They don't really show him doing it, but you have just kind of like that's like part of the problem because that when they show him acting frantically, it's all in that Marilyn Manson 9 Inch Nails music video editing style with like the Matrix green puke neon lighting. But while they're like doing that, you have like the one officer, she's describing what happened and like saying like how like one of the incisions was so deep it cut into his stomach and there's stomach acid on it. Like,
you can imagine that's terrible. Yeah,
you don't need to see that. That's great. That's a great little thing. But
well, we're gonna see more of that because we're gonna continue through the Saw series until we get to the end.
Now, when does the new one come out?
Not till next year.
Next year. So what the hell are they gonna do now?
What?
What are they gonna do now?
I don't know. Well, there hasn't been a new Saw in a few years anyway.
Well, Saw 7 was the final chapter.
Saw 8 is coming out.
The new chapter.
It must be, yeah. It's just like in
the new novel.
Yeah, just like in Friday the 13th.
Yeah, was it the fourth one?
Killed off Jason, bring him back.
Yeah, it was the fourth one, right? Final chapter.
Yeah, and then Jason lives. So... but yes,
I hate that. I hate like that shit.
Oh yeah, sure, we'll end it, and then just coming back from it after.
Like I remember, not only that, like not just like with movies, like in games, like Halo 3, finish
the last one.
Halo 3 is gonna be the last one. Finish Master Chief's fight next year. Hey, we got another one coming out. Reach is coming out. It's like you lied to me.
I know. It happens all the time.
It's the same thing. I loved the Mass Effect games. They were great. I didn't play them when they first came out. I actually didn't play them until the past 2 years.
The trilogy.
Yeah, it's the trilogy. It's supposed to be like that's it. Not like Andromeda's coming out, and as great of a game as that's probably gonna be, it's like just leave well enough alone.
It's true. But we're gonna be back next week with Saw 2, and the subsequent weeks we'll finish up the Saw series until Halloween. We're gonna go right straight through. So be prepared for all of those films to come your way. Thank you for listening to the Blood and Black Rum
Pumpkin Cast.
Blood and Black Rum podcast. We hope you'll stick with us through the Halloween season as we cover all of these Saw films. You can find us. This is time for administrative stuff, so you can turn it off if you don't want to hear it. You can find us on our website, Blood and Black Rum Podcast .wordpress.com. That's where we post all of our updates and things like that. So definitely follow us on there. You can follow us with WordPress. We're on iTunes. And we are also on Stitcher and pretty much any other podcasting app or software that you use. We're on all of them. So follow us, subscribe, leave us a comment, leave us a review. We definitely appreciate all of that. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/Blood and Black Rum Podcast. You can like us, leave us a comment on what you want to hear for the next films that we cover in this podcast. And, just tell us how much you like us. We really appreciate that. You can email us, bloodandblackrumpodcast@gmail.com. Give us film suggestions. Tell us how good we're doing. Don't tell us how bad we're doing. We don't want to hear it. We won't change for you. Also, you can donate to us on Patreon. Patreon is a website that allows you to donate as much or as little as you want for each of our episodes. So just keep that in mind when you're donating. Don't donate $50 an episode because that you're gonna go broke real soon, and we don't want our listeners to go broke because that's pretty soon you'll be homeless and you won't have a computer or an iPhone and you won't be able to listen to us. So that does none of us any good. So, but if you do feel the need to donate to us, pledge $1 or something like that. And, we will really appreciate that. It'll help us with our podcasting costs. So thanks in advance for that. Next week we'll be back with Saw 2. Please tune in, and, we hope you enjoy our Halloween series and hope you have a fun Halloween season. Thanks for listening.
Take care.